Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to start the first part of the slipper crochet along. So I hope you're all excited, you've got your yarn and you're ready to go. And we are definitely going to be getting a whole bunch done in this video. But before we do that, there's one little thing we need to do first, and that is measure your foot. So let's do that real quick and then we can get into the actual crocheting. What we need is the measurement of the outer circumference of your foot. So basically you just need a piece of paper and a pencil, and you want to trace around the edge of your foot while you stand on this piece of paper. If you have someone that can help you with it, it'll be a little bit easier, but this measurement doesn't need to be super exact, so it's okay if it's not quite perfect. Once you've got the outline, all you need to do is take a measuring tape and just figure out how long that circumference is. This video is for right-handed crocheters. If you are a left-handed crocheter, please click either the link in the corner up top or down in the description below. As I mentioned in the intro video, this is a very basic and easy project, even if you're a beginner crocheter. All you need to know is chain stitch and single crochet through the back loop. I'm going to do just a quick overview of this, and I will link tutorials that go through it more slowly and in greater detail in the description. To chain, start with a slip knot and then just yarn over your hook and pull it through the loop. This is the foundation of pretty much every other crochet stitch. To do a single crochet in this chain, I am going to skip the first 2 stitches, and I'm going to put my hook through the 3rd stitch. I will then yarn over and pull this through my chain stitch, and I now have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over again and pull this through both of the loops that are on my hook, completing the stitch and leaving me with just 1 loop on my hook again, ready to start over. So that is, again, through my chain, yarn over, and through both. To start a new row, I'm going to turn the work over and chain 2. Now let's go over single crocheting in the back loop. If you look at your finished row from above, you can see that there are 2 parallel strands of yarn that form the top of every stitch. The one closer to you is the front loop, and the one further from you is the back loop. To make the stitch, we're going to be putting our hook through only the back loop rather than both, and this will create a texture similar to garter stitch in knitting, and it makes for a ridged and therefore stretchier finished piece with crocheting. And we're going to want our slippers to have a little bit of stretch to them. As you can see, after only just 1 row of crocheting through the back loop only, it's already forming a ridge at the side facing me and a little valley at the other side. Just keep in mind as you continue to do rows with crocheting through the back loop that the back loop is relative to you and not to what is the front of the piece versus the back of the piece. Otherwise, you will still get a flat piece of crochet on one side, which is not what we want. And now for what you've been waiting for, the slipper. The upper is crocheted all in one single piece, and for mine I have chosen to do a narrow stripe using Knit Picks palette yarn in Peony and Celadon. There are also patterns that have you do 4 rows per stripe, which makes for a wider stripe, and it's really a matter of personal choice. I am going to start with the darker of my two colors, which is the Celadon, and we're going to do what I call row 0, or the foundation row. So what I'm going to do is chain 17 to start with, and then I'm going to skip 2, single crochet 7, chain 2, and then single crochet 8. Now that I have single crocheted 17, I'm going to skip the first 2 loops and start in the third, and I'm going to do 7 single crochets. Once I've done those 7 single crochet stitches, I'm going to chain 2. And this is right in the middle of the toe of the slipper, and this is going to be what forms the increases to shape it. So after chaining 2, I am then going to just single crochet 8 or to the end of the row. You can already see the little point forming where those chain stitches are. That will help shape the top of the vamp where it goes over the foot. And now for row 1, we are going to turn the piece and then start with the chain 2, which is how we will start every row. And then we are going to single crochet 8 times through the back loop only. The last single crochet that we're going to do right here, number 8, is actually going to be through the first of the chain stitches that were in the center of the row below. So that is an easy indicator that you've gotten to the middle, is when you hit the chain stitches. So you will do a single crochet through that chain stitch. Then you're going to chain 2 to form the increase for this row. If you really want, you can put a marker around it, like this little bulb or calabash pin I've got here. And then, not crocheting through it, you are going to, after doing those chain 2s, you're going to do the first of your next set of single crochets in the second chain stitch from below. And then that is going to be 9 single crochets through the back loop for this row, or again, single crochet through the back loop to the end of the row. To start row 2, again, we are going to turn, chain 2, and then single crochet through the back loop 9, chain 2, and then single crochet through the back loop 10. This is the basic stitch pattern for the entire vamp of the shoe. So all we're doing is increasing by 2 stitches every row, and that means on either side of the center there's 1 more stitch in pattern each time. Now let's talk about stripes. As I said before, and as you saw with my other piece, I'm doing narrow stripes, which means I'm changing colors every 2 rows. And the way I'm doing this is, at the end of my second and subsequently every even row, I am going to swap colors. And to do that, I'm going to hold both colors together to do that final yarn over and pull through both loops of the last single crochet in my even numbered rows. Now that I've added on the peony yarn, I am just going to keep on working with row 3, which is going to be chain 2 excuse me, chain 2, single crochet through the back loop 10, chain 2, single crochet through the back loop 11. Now that I've got 4 rows done, I'm just going to pause for a second and look things over. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep working and changing my color every 2 rows. I am not cutting my yarn though. I am just carrying it up the side because honestly I don't want to be weaving in all of those ends if I don't have to. Now, if you're curious, I am working on a second set of slippers, and in some pretty wild colors. This pair is going to be for Robin of So Loud when it's done. And as you can see, I am doing 4 rows in each color before I switch. And even though I am doing longer or more rows per color before switching, I'm still carrying them up the side the exact same way. So I'm just going to continue on, and rows 5 through 25 are going to be the same thing, which is chain 2, single crochet through the back loop to the first chain below, and then chain 2 and single crochet to the end of the row. I am now not quite halfway through row 26, which for my narrow stripe pattern is going to be the last row I do on the vamp, which is this piece right here. And if I were doing wide stripes, or the 4 rows per stripe, I would continue 2 more rows and I would finish the vamp on row 28, just so that I have an even amount of rows and not one random narrow row. So what I'm going to do for this last row in my vamp is I am going to just single crochet through the back loop the entire thing. This one I am not stopping in the middle to add the 2 chain stitches. I'm just crocheting the whole thing. So that's what I'm doing right here. I am not increasing in the center on this last row. Now, even though I am done with the vamp of the slipper now, I am not done with the upper, and I've got to make the sides and back still. So as you can see, I have not cut my yarn, and I am just going to switch colors and start working again. And this time it's just going to be a long narrow strip, no shaping whatsoever. So this part, even though it's a whole bunch of rows, it'll go pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do from here on in is just chain 2 and then single crochet through the back loop 15 stitches. Now, the reason why I didn't give you a row count for this part is because it is completely dependent on the size of your foot. And this is why I had you measure the circumference of your foot to start with. You might have noticed that I haven't actually mentioned gauge for the crocheting before. And honestly, that's because for the most part it doesn't matter. The only place it kind of does is just figuring out how long you need to make your side panel. For me, I am getting about, with a slight bit of stretch, I am getting 4 stripes or 8 rows per inch. My foot circumference was about 22.5 inches, and what I've done so far, not counting the 3 rows for my side, is measured out to about 9 inches, which means for me, I need to do 13 inches of length for my side piece. Multiplied by 4, that means I would need to technically do 52 more stripes, but I want to have an odd number of stripes so that I end on the same color that I started with, which is my peony, because I want to abut the peony end of my side to the celadon edge of my vamp, and I don't want to have doubled up colors there. So what I'm going to do myself is 51 more stripes or 102 more rows to finish off the side panels for my slippers. 99 off-camera rows later, I am finishing the last row in the side and back panel of my slipper. As you can see, I am finishing on a peony row so that when I stitch these 2 pieces together, these stripes are in the correct pattern. And as I did with all of my other rows, for my even rows I should say, I am going to drop my hook. I'm going to end this one by pulling both yarns through the last loop. I am now done with crocheting with the peony, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself some extra length, and I just kind of estimated about 4 times the length, or the width I should say, of this piece here, and I'm going to use that to join together my pieces once I am done, to connect the other side of my vamp to the side back rectangle. But I am not going to be joining my pieces together right now. Instead, what I'm going to do is just run a line of basically stabilizing single crochet stitches along the outer edge of my slipper. And what I am doing is just 1 single crochet stitch for every stripe, or 1 stitch for every other row. And this is to help protect the floating threads from where I carried my yarn up the side, as well as to give me a slightly more solid edge to sew the slipper upper onto the sole of the slipper. I am also doing my best to keep these stitches looser than the single crochet stitches I use in making the main part of the slipper, because I want them to have a little bit more stretch. If you aren't good at doing looser stitches in some places, you can always go up a hook size or 2 to make it work more easily. As I get to the corner of the toe, I am just going to give myself an extra little chain stitch right there to make turning that corner a little easier. And then I'm going to just single crochet in the same place I did the single crochet of my foundation layers, or of my foundation row. I am just going through the other side of the chain stitch. And now that I've reached the other side of the vamp and the last row I did there, I am going to just finish off, and that'll be it for today. In the next video, I will go over assembling the slipper, so joining it to finish the upper, and then what to do to prep and attach the sole of the slipper, as well as the last little bits of finishing. So that video will go up in 2 weeks, and I can't wait to see what you guys make as you follow along with this video. Please send me pictures on Instagram or tag me. I'd love to see them, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye!